Oh boy, here we go. Again, Tuesday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well. Free Odyssey app. We have computer updates happening. Sometimes you just think you got a show, Anthony. And then all of a sudden the news says, bleep your show.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's happened today again as Maryland has hired Buzz Williams as their new basketball coach. And Anthony, that means I get to start the show with story time. You ready? You ready for a story time with? I don't know. For you, it feels weird to say Uncle Craig because I'm not your uncle. I have a 3-year-old niece and 3-month-old niece and nephew. Their uncle, but story time with your old pal Craig.
Let's get it, man.
The year is 2011. The place is Cleveland, Ohio. Where? Cleveland. Hello, Cleveland. Syracuse University, the university I'm attending at the time, is preparing for the NCAA tournament. Also in their little pod is one Marquette, coached by Buzz Williams. And the day before gameplay happens, you have these big press conferences, all the national media there, all the local media that's made the trip, and I'm there as student media. And I walk into the Buzz Williams press conference because whatever I was working on the Syracuse front was ending. Buzz at that time was a conference rival with Marquette in the Big East. Had these guys named Jimmy Butler and Jay Crowder and Darius Johnson-Odom, amongst others on the squad. Those guys wound up in the league. Jimmy's still there somehow and still very good, even though we're all old now. But I just remember walking into the room. And you ever walk into a room, Anthony, and you notice that the energy in the room is not what you expected it to be? Yeah. That was that room. As Buzz Williams was telling his life story to a group of reporters and talking about, all this different things he's done along the way and having to sleep in here and, because he didn't have a house and he was poor and riding tractors out in Texas and, how grateful he was to be doing the job that he was. And just, I don't remember the details. There's half of me that went to say, like, should I go back and try to find this press conference today? I decided it wasn't worth my time, but I'll never forget the feeling of walking into that room and being like, something is happening. There's a moment happening, and I have walked into the middle of it. And Buzz must have talked for a solid 5 minutes, which was bizarre because that was very clear from the moment I walked in that he had already been talking for a while. And it turns out I think he told like a 9-minute story. And I remember looking back at the transcript, and it was like 4 pages worth of transcriptions. But that was the first time I ever really encountered Buzz Williams. And it looks like over the next 4 to 5 years, as long as Buzz keeps his new job and I keep mine, that we're going to have a little bit more to do with Buzz Williams. This is a really good hire by University of Maryland. And I think there's probably a lot of folks that would say that Buzz Williams is a better basketball coach than Kevin Willard. Now, I'm very curious to see how Buzz Williams fits in replacing Kevin Willard in the current state of Maryland. And I don't mean like the jurisdiction, the lines on a map is the state, the current state of play at Maryland. I was talking to somebody who knows Buzz pretty well earlier today. Yeah, Anthony, hear that? Actual reporting from your boy. What's up? Still got it.
Let's get it.
I was talking to somebody that knows Buzz pretty well earlier today, and he's like, he won't care. They don't have an AD. Buzz is going to do his own thing. Buzz will come in. He's got his people. He's got his way of doing business. He didn't really care about how things were done. Like, it's not like he's not going to embrace the traditions and, those kinds of things. Like, it's not like he's going to try to change the mascot. But when it comes to the basketball operation, he's going to do things his way. And he's got his types of players that he's going to want. And in the current college basketball environment, I actually think that's a strength, where it used to take a long time to change over a program. And you look at his track record when he got to, say, Virginia Tech. It took him a couple years to get to the NCAA tournament. And then he went to 3 straight. And then he left. But it took him a while to build it up because the old transfer rules were still in place. Players had to sit out a year. It was more punitive. You couldn't just go into the portal, find your guys, give them some money, and be like, hey, buddy, you ready to come rock this thing? And that's how it is now. And so I think Buzz is a coach that in a lot of ways is built for the modern college basketball, at least on the front end, where it's not going to take him as long to do the things that he wants to do. Then you add in the fact that his players absolutely love this guy. And we're talking back to guys like Jimmy Butler back in the day, loved Buzz. And like they will support him at their new job. Like so many of the Marquette guys like Butler, got like Jay Crowder, guys that went to the league. They would show up in Blacksburg sometimes and be like, oh, we're here to support Buzz. Because that's what they think. And by the way, Manny Obaseki, Texas A&M guard, he had this to say after they got eliminated from the NCAA tournament. And turns out what was Buzz Williams' last game at Texas A&M.
That man right there next to Wade, one of the greatest people you will ever meet. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time in basketball in general. And he's changed my life. He's changed each and every one of our lives. And I'm so thankful for him. Coach Buzz, you mean everything to me. I love you. No matter what, I know you're going to be one call away, one text away. And no matter what anybody says, he's one of the greatest. And y'all can't change that. And nobody will change that or take that from him. Thank you.
If I got a son that's going to play basketball, I want him to feel that way about his coach. That at the end of the time together, he can look at that grown man who took care of him and coached him and pushed him to be the best version of himself and be like, Coach, I love you. Like that's what it's about at this level. And it's not just about the basketball on the court. Like Buzz is a guy that talks about life with his players and is, I don't know if religious, but spiritual. Sure. He might be religious too. I don't know. But like he's a deep, deep guy. And I think that's great. I think that works well in the living room in your recruiting. Now, you also got to have the checkbook. And I think that's going to be the question, right? Does he get the support from the Maryland administration that ultimately was what Kevin Willard said was the reasons he was leaving? I think Willard just wanted a different situation. But does he get the same commitments that Willard apparently got and then left anyway when it comes to resources and all that kind of stuff? And there's obviously politics at any major university. But I'll tell you what, Anthony, you want one of the worst places for politics, and I don't mean like governmental politics. I mean the politics in terms of like, do you know how to pull the strings? Do you know how to play the game? Dog, Texas A&M, with some of the rich people they got down there, some of that Texas oil money and some of the influence that some of the folks down in Texas have over that university, oh my God. It's not as bad as University of Texas, but I'm not going to say Maryland's small potatoes compared to that. And certainly as a basketball program, I think Maryland's got a better reputation than Texas A&M. But I am telling you, like when it comes to the politics of an institution, I think Maryland, not that there's no politics, not that there's not pockets, or hands to shake and babies to kiss and all that stuff, but I'm just going to say Buzz Williams is probably well-versed in politics and is ready for a step in a different direction after 5 years at Texas A&M. But here's the thing. After 5 years at Maryland, Buzz Williams will be on to the next thing too, because that's how he rolls. 5 years, that seems to be a shelf life. It's what he was at Virginia Tech. It's what he was at A&M. It's what he was at Marquette. 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And so if you're looking for the next Gary Williams, Buzz Williams ain't about to be your next Gary Williams. He ain't going to be here until 2040. And that's just the reality of the situation. But I think if you look at the next wave of coaches, especially locally, and especially you look at a guy like Dwayne Simpkins, who just re-upped with American, like let Dwayne Simpkins go somewhere else next year. Sorry, American University. Sorry, David Aldridge. I'm not trying to steal Dwayne Simpkins from you. But let him go somewhere else. Take a step between American and Maryland. And then when Buzz is done in 5 years and has gone to 3 or 4 NCAA tournaments and a couple of Sweet 16s, then maybe Simpkins will be ready then. And then maybe I think you go in the direction that Len Elmore and Steve Blake and not Juan Dixon, Grievous Vasquez, and I don't know, maybe Juan Dixon somewhere. I just haven't seen a public comment from him. Want you to go and hiring someone with more university and local ties. But for right now, considering the state of this program in flux, and to get a coach the caliber of Buzz Williams, and to know who Buzz is, that he's like a winning starter pack all by himself. He's a self-contained basketball success machine. I think it's a pretty damn good hire by University of Maryland. And it was one, Jeff Furman told us yesterday he thought Buzz was fading. He thought that was a real outside shot. But this came together quickly. They got it done, and Buzz Williams is the next coach at the University of Maryland.
Yeah, I think considering their situation, to get a guy like this that has, a reputation and, has been a proven winner, I think does say a lot. And we've seen him take 3 different schools to like the NCAA tournament. So like he knows what it takes, to get there. And I think this is the best outcome for, a Maryland team that, sort of kind of was scrambling and still is scrambling because they still have not hired an AD. So the fact that you get your head coach at this point in time where, guys are in the portal and, Jeff Erman said yesterday, like teams and players, like you got to be on it, because if not, guys are going to be, competing elsewhere, and you got to just, make the most of it. So.
Yeah, it's going to happen quick, and got guys like Gillespie and Rice who might wind up leaving. Who knows? Maybe they wind up talking to Buzz and like, actually, pull my name out of the portal. I want to play for this dude. There's definitely a chance one of them might wind up at Villanova with Willard. Like both of them might wind up at Villanova with Willard. We'll see. But I'm curious now, Terps fans, what you think? 301-230-0980 is the phone number. You got your guy, 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. We take your calls next, and then we'll check in with some insiders and experts as we go here today. Also, we'll get you a little bit more on what Dan Quinn said this morning, all the NFL news. We're tracking it all here on the Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Seth Emerson, who is covering the Buzz Williams hiring for the Athletic, is going to join us coming up in less than 10 minutes. Right now, though, your call is at 301-230-0980. We got full open phone line, so if you want to get in, now's the time. And one of the questions that I want to talk to Terps fans about, you can also hit the YouTube chat with this. We're streaming live always at the Team 980, is like, what are your expectations for Buzz Williams? Because I was just reading the story that Seth and his colleagues wrote in The Athletic, Anthony, and it's like one of his colleagues wrote about how they have to build on what Kevin Willard did. And like, I think that is both correct and incorrect. And it's correct in the way that they wrote it, but I was thinking about it on a bigger level. I had to tell my inner contrarian to settle down for a second. But they need to build on the success, because ultimately, like, the ramp that Willard had was he got them farther and got to the NCAA tournament, and then he got to the Sweet 16, and like he finished as high as the program has gotten in 2 decades. And so, are you really looking for someone to get back just to the Sweet 16, or are you looking for someone to get even farther? Can you build on that success and push Maryland and take the excitement of the fan base and some of the excitement maybe around the program caused by Derek Queen, who will be a top 5 to 10 pick, probably somewhere in like the 6 to 9 range in the NBA draft? Can you celebrate him and embrace Derek Queen and be like, hey, look, you can go from Maryland to the pros and recruit some of the top talent? Can you obviously recruit well in the portal? Can you show the excitement of what Maryland as a fan base is and build on that? Or do you say, like, everything Willard did is already destroyed? Like, most of the roster's not coming back. This is the modern college basketball. And what we really want is, if we get back to Sweet 16 next year, amazing. Can we do it again the year after? And, of course, we don't want to always lose in the Sweet 16. But right now, if I was a Maryland fan, I would be getting to the Sweet 16 year over year and then having to figure that part out versus we can't even get to the Sweet 16 more than twice in 20 years. And so I think that's one of my key questions is, if you're a Terps fan and you look at Buzz Williams and this hire and say, okay, the last team he took past the Sweet 16, although he's been there some, was that Marquette team in 2013, which had a ton of NBA talent on it, or had a couple of players with NBA talent on it. What's the goal for Buzz here? 301-230-0980. Like, what constitutes success in the next 5 years for Buzz Williams? 301-230-0980. Let's go to Ken. Ken, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Hey, I think it's a really, really good hire. Buzz Williams has shown he can win everywhere. They finished 5th in the SEC this year, and the 4 teams above them were either 1 or 2 seeds. He can coach. He can flat out coach. He's done it at Virginia Tech. They got to be top echelon in the ACC. He did it at Marquette, and he's just, he is just a real rabid fan that won't quit.
Yeah, and I think, Ken, thanks for the call. I agree it's a really great coach, in part because of how good of a basketball coach he is. And I think the other thing that you should know about Buzz Williams is, like, Buzz doesn't play modern basketball in that he's not out there hunting a zillion threes. And while strategically I think there's a question of, like, okay, he's, they're getting after it in terms of slower pace and just trying to attack the rim, and maybe they're a little happier with some mid-range stuff than modern analytics suggest is the optimal way to play basketball. I think when you're in a sport like college basketball, that can create opportunity, because there might be some players that fit what Buzz wants that maybe aren't as good three-point shooters, for instance, but they do a bunch of other stuff well, that they see what Buzz is doing as an opportunity versus this, everyone else is playing this other way that doesn't suit my game. So is there a chance to zig when everyone else is zagging? And thus, because I'm a nerd sometimes, I'll use this term, like, is there a market inefficiency on the Buzz Williams types of players? And so I think that is another thing to consider, is style of play, you are looking at a very, very different basketball coach. And I don't know in 2025, in the modern college basketball environment, if that's actually a bad thing. 301-230-0980. We'll take more of your calls before the end of the hour, but next, Seth Emerson from The Athletic, who is covering the story for them, joins us to let us know how it went from Buzz, the underdog, getting this job to, they're talking to him, we'll see what happens, to Buzz Williams been hired. We'll talk to Seth Emerson about it next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. We'll get some of the NFL news of the day coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Some women's hoops at 6 o'clock. Paige Beckers goes bonkers again. Plus, the WNBA draft just changed dramatically last night because of Olivia Miles' decision to not enter it. She was probably going to be the second overall pick. We'll talk about that with Ben Pickman at The Athletic. Right now, though, The Athletic helping us out big time today. Seth Emerson is covering the Buzz Williams news for The Athletic. He's a senior writer for them covering college athletics. Seth joins us now. Seth, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So we had Jeff Erman, who is a Maryland insider, on with us yesterday, Seth, and
Right.
he was like, here's a bunch of names like Buzz Williams kind of floating out there, but I really don't know about that and how real that is. And then here we are today. They've hired Buzz Williams as the coach. So how quickly did this move, and how did we get this to where Buzz was signing on with the Terps?
Well, it obviously moved really quickly because they knew that Kevin Willard was probably leaving. It's surprisingly quickly when you don't have a sitting athletic director doing it. So it's, on the face of it, it's a good thing. You hired away an SEC coach, a guy that just went to the tournament this year. But you kind of wonder, did they just go for the big name? Buzz Williams was interested. We've got to hire him. Did not having an athletic director in place hurt them? Did they not have the ability or the wherewithal or the desire to go find, the next Todd Golden or someone like that? But Buzz Williams is a solid hire, and he's a name, and he probably kind of restores some of the luster to Maryland in the industry here, because obviously they were very, not in a good shape, losing your athletic director to SMU, losing your basketball coach to Villanova, but then to be able to go pull Buzz Williams, who has been successful. He's not ever been to a Final Four. He's only been to one Elite Eight, and that was at Marquette 12 years ago. But to be able to pull him is a good pick-me-up for Maryland.
So was there any signs with Buzz, because I know you've spent a lot of time covering the SEC over the years, like, if Buzz doesn't take this job, is he going somewhere else? Like, his time expired? Had his time expired at Texas A&M, or is this just an opportunity that he's like, no, I'm really interested in that. Maryland's a school that theoretically is going to put basketball first in a way that all the other schools that he's coached at since Marquette will not. Like, what's kind of the exit story on Buzz, and then we can focus even more on the entrance part of this.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't Maryland, it would probably be a place like that, if not this cycle, then the next one. I mean, look, this is the second time Texas A&M has lost a basketball coach to Maryland. And obviously this time under different circumstances, and Maryland's in a different place. But, Buzz had, he'd probably reached his ceiling there. But also, it's Texas A&M. It's going to be a football-first school. Buzz has been at Virginia Tech, which was, it's football first, but it's ACC, so he kind of had a taste of it. And, he definitely was at a basketball-first school because they don't even have football at Marquette. And so, he clearly wanted to get to a place that was going to prioritize basketball, which is kind of interesting. And it's another reason that this is kind of a good thing for Maryland's reputation, at least, getting off the mat after the Willard thing, because has Williams been told by whoever is running the show there now, presumably the president and whoever he has as interim athletic director, has he been told, yes, you will be able to compete in NIL, because that's one of the reasons that Kevin Willard left. So that's a good sign. I don't think Buzz Williams was fleeing, but he probably had reached his ceiling there. And, the SEC's been really tough too, and it's not getting less tough over the next year or two. So I think he saw this as a good exit strategy.
Seth Emerson from The Athletic is with us here on the Hoffman Show, senior writer covering college athletics, covering this Buzz Williams to Maryland story. Buzz is a pretty unique guy in a lot of ways, Seth, as I'm sure you well know, both on and off the court. On the court, the style that he coaches, the kind of players that he recruits, how does that fit in the modern basketball landscape?
Well, the criticism of him is that he's a little bit kind of old school. As kind of colorful as he is on the court, he's a little bit more kind of, I heard that a criticism of him is that Texas A&M kind of played a boring brand this year, not as much as a three-point shooting team. Now, how much of that is adapting to your personnel? And it was still good enough in a very tough SEC to win enough to get to the NCAAs and win a game there. But it's going to be interesting to see how that translates. I know that Maryland isn't one of those places that is going to be wedded to a certain style of ball. If they could bring Tony Bennett out of retirement and win games 45-40, they would. If you're going to get bring back the Paul Westhead, George Mason days and, win 140-135, they'll do that too. But the question is going to be the player procurement, which is what everything is here. And obviously, you're expecting to lose Derek Queen. And I think one of the other reasons that Maryland moved so quickly here was because of the transfer portal, because it's already open, and not to have a long, drawn-out search where their new coach is already behind the eight ball because he got here so late. Now, some might say that's kind of too much of a short-term strategy. You want to hire someone that can do well over the long term, and one portal cycle doesn't matter. And I think there's an argument for that. But the other counter to that is, well, the transfer portal isn't just 1 year. Like, you can get guys in here now that will be here for the next 2 years, 3 years. Plus, you also are building a base for going forward. You know, it's probably going to be important for Maryland to have a good year, not necessarily have to make the tournament or bust, but to show that that they're not going anywhere. On the other hand, Buzz does have a reputation for being a program builder. First year at Virginia Tech wasn't good. First year at Texas A&M wasn't good. And then year 3, year 4, they get going. So, you know, what the patience is of Maryland fans, we'll see. You know, Buzz has taken over programs that were below what Maryland is now. Maryland just went to the Sweet 16. I think, you know, fans aren't going to be demanding to go back to the Sweet 16 right away, but they certainly don't want this team to fall off a lot.
For sure. And the thing, you know, it's worth pointing out in those early struggles, those were pre-NIL, pre-current transfer rules too. So the quick flips were harder then than they are now. But then again, everybody's quick flipping every year. So it's just a totally different environment. The other thing that I think is interesting about Buzz is he was basically described to me by someone who knows him pretty well today as almost like a starter pack, self-contained kind of coach, where the fact that Maryland currently doesn't have an AD, for instance, doesn't really matter to Buzz. Like, he's going to be Buzz Williams no matter who's in charge, who his boss is, who whatever else. He's got his own people. He'll come in and off he'll go. He'll hit the ground running. Do you think in that way that it was appealing maybe for Maryland right now, that as opposed to hiring someone who's coming from a mid-major or even a low major that would have to adjust to life in the big time, in the Big Ten, without an AD for some amount of time, that they can just go this route where someone who's more self-contained? Was that a feature, if you will, even if, you know, maybe later if he doesn't get along with the AD, it might present itself like a bug?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a consideration. I think even more so, you're looking at a place when they don't have an AD. It's going to make it probably a little bit more attractive to the incoming AD that you have an established men's basketball coach. Because let's be honest, there's whoever is coming into the AD knows that he may be having a football decision to make next year. They want someone that they can kind of count on in men's basketball. And Buzz has the track record there that it really isn't a question. When you look at his track record, when he's done it 3 different places, in Marquette, Virginia Tech, and Texas A&M, it's kind of the old Gary Williams debate pre-Final Four 2001. You know, Buzz is going to get them to tournaments, probably, you'd figure, and in contention. It's going to be eventually in 4 or 5 years whether he takes them further, whether he has a ceiling. And I remember that debate being around then over whether Gary, whether he had a ceiling of the Sweet 16. And then he obviously busted through it in 2001 and then won it all in 2002. And, you know, the thing, if you're Maryland, is you're looking at Buzz and his track record and saying he's going to be the guy that's going to keep us in contention. In a few years, it's going to be a debate whether he has that ceiling. And if you're Buzz Williams, you're telling yourself, I'm only 52 years old. I've won at Marquette, which, you know, basketball first school, but it's not power conference school. I've won at Virginia Tech and I've won at Texas A&M, which are 2 basically football first schools. Definitely Texas A&M, maybe Virginia Tech, get an argument. You go to a place like Maryland for all the debate over NIL and resources and commitment and whatever. Maryland's still a basketball school. And so Buzz, I'm sure, thinks he can win at Maryland, and he can take his ceiling higher than it's been in his career. And that's what you're banking on if you're Maryland.
Seth Emerson, senior writer at The Athletic. Seth, you've been reporting on this story all day, and I'm sure behind the scenes for a couple weeks now, and the various iterations of this, from Willard on on through. So I will simply ask you on the way out here, anything else we should be thinking about? Anything else we should know from the Maryland side, from the Buzz Williams side that we haven't talked about yet, but is on the top of your mind as you wrap up your reporting on the Maryland coaching saga?
Well, I think, and mainly, my day job is covering the SEC as a whole. But the thing that's been interesting to me is I've been also dealing with and covering a lot of these issues going forward with the House settlement, NIL, and revenue sharing and whatever is whether the Willard move does signify a shift to where the schools that don't have to prioritize and give up so much in revenue sharing to football are going to be in an advantage. This is a, similar move. This is SEC to Big Ten. Those two conferences are simpatico. They're on the same wavelength. So that's not a factor, but that's the thing to watch going forward is how much does this all have an effect? I've been somebody who has really thought that basketball is kind of in danger of being lost here and that football is the king, but I think basketball is getting a little bit of a renaissance here. And I think the question for Maryland is whether they're going to open up the pocketbooks, whether I think they're probably going to get if they're doing what most other schools are doing, the rev share is going to go mostly to football. The question is whether the basketball donors will step up. And that's the thing to watch going forward is, Kevin Plank's more of a football guy, but does he do it towards basketball? Just name your average Maryland basketball donor. How much of those wallets can open up? And that's going to be a question at so many places going forward. As an alum, it's not going to be me. I can't afford to donate to Maryland basketball, but I'll do it to the journalism school. But I'm really curious to see what is going to happen with the money people.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty fascinating. Seth, if you have money to donate even to the journalism school, I think you're doing quite well for yourself because when Syracuse comes calling for me and for Anthony, my producer over there, we're like, our hands are empty. Quit calling us. We're still paying you back from when we were there. So you relax over there.
I'm
Syracuse.
Speaking with empty words there. I do not. I am not donating that money.
We'll happily hop on a Zoom in a journalism class.
I'll do that.
Give us a call. Respective universities. Frankly, I do it for Maryland too. So if any Terps folks are listening, Seth and I are both available. Shoot, we'll even do it together, even though we met 15 minutes ago on this phone call. Seth, this was great. Really appreciate everything you're doing in terms of the reporting on this. It's great to read everything that you wrote on it, and I really appreciate your time and perspective here on the radio.
All right. Thanks a lot. Anytime.
Seth Emerson with us, senior writer from The Athletic. Terps alum here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, we can get back to you. 301-230-0980. That's how it all went down. What do you make of it? We will discuss next here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Recorded a fresh episode of Take Command this morning, and Logan and I were able to talk about some of what Dan Quinn said yesterday, some of what Adam Peters said yesterday, as well as what Dan Quinn said this morning, because even though we recorded this episode, Anthony, at 8:15 in the morning, they were already having breakfast down there at the Breakers in Palm Beach.
Oh, wow.
Because it is the NFC coach's breakfast, and so it's really breakfast. And so we had live reaction, if you will, to some of what Dan Quinn was saying. So we are going to play that for you, me, Logan, on some of the biggest Commanders news, and then 5:30 we'll get into the NFL rule changes as well. But, Anthony, you brought up a really interesting last topic point thing to think about when it comes to the Buzz Williams hire at Maryland.
Yeah, you were talking about, expectations for the new coach, and I think one thing people appreciated about Kevin Willard was his ability to, retain some of the homegrown talent here in the DMV. I personally believe we have the best basketball in the nation. We have one of the best leagues in the nation, and I just feel as though if we can go out there and recruit the Hunter Dickinsons of the world, because a lot of Maryland fans really were upset that Terps wasn't able to land somebody of his caliber, but the fact Willard was able to bring in Derek Queen, a 5-star, one of the best in his classes, says to everybody that, all right, maybe you can keep some of the homegrown talent. And there's a kid right now, Native Mint. He'll have his pick of the litter. I don't know if he's declared just yet. I know he's one of the McDonald's All-Americans. But that kid right there, if Maryland was able to land a guy like him or, some of the other guys that are up and coming, I think that's what people will really appreciate about Buzz Woodham, just being able to keep some of the homegrown talent.
There's no doubt that absolutely should happen. The basketball, you should, if you're trying to compete with the biggest of the big boys, you should want the best talent from no matter where it's from. But even in the modern state of college basketball, where everything is more national, everything is less local, you still want to keep your hometown kids. I mean, that is absolutely a part of it. You have the chance to build relationships early. These kids are in your backyard, so you do still have a leg up just by the fact that if you want to run down, if you're in College Park and you want to go down to Gonzaga or wherever to see someone play, the kids are right there. You want to go to DeMatha, the kids are right there. And so you have this opportunity to build those relationships early, get to know parents, get to know whoever else. Now there's all these handlers and agents and whatever, even at the high school level, you have a chance to know the right people. And that should matter. Obviously, the NIL stuff, the money can come in. If your money ain't right at the end, that relationship is probably not going to mean as much, but maybe not with every kid. And I think that's something that's really special about Buzz is he is someone who's a relationship builder. And, we played the bite earlier in the show from one of his players at A&M. That was just Coach, I love you. That man has made me a better basketball player, but he's also made me a better person. And I know you'll always be a call, a text away. And this is a different caliber of, it's a different caliber of relationship. And so I definitely think that he's going to have to build those relationships with the high school coaches and all that kind of stuff in the area. That stuff is pretty standard. I mean, he's coming from a place in Texas where there's a lot of talent. It's just a much larger area because Texas is the size of 3 European countries. And the DMV, it's all concentrated, sure, if you want to include Baltimore for basketball purposes, there's a ton of talent up there. But in-state, in Maryland, Baltimore, down into the D.C. area. And then if you want to go down to the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area, just in that, what are we talking about? 5-6 hour swing. You're probably going to have at least one top 10 player, if not multiple, every single year. You're going to have 10, top 100 players every single year. And so can you keep one or two of them, at the very least, that's what it's about. And if you can hit a big one, Willard did with Derek Queen, then now you're in real business. And so I think it's a great point. I think Buzz is a guy who knows what he wants from a talent standpoint. And so there might be guys that he just is that's not my kind of player. And I think we're going to have to live with that from the outside looking in, or Terps fans or, DC basketball fans are going to have to live with that from the outside looking in. But, talent is talent. And you gotta use what resources you have. And so I think it's a great point. It's something that definitely is going to be interesting to watch. And maybe we get some early indicators if some of the kids that you've been watching play high school ball for the last 4 years all of a sudden start being like, oh, I think I'm going to add Maryland to my list late in the year. No, a lot of those kids have committed, but, commitments mean nothing these days. Till it depends on the paper, bro. They can go anywhere.
No, they actually can, but
Maryland currently has zero high school recruits, right? They had one and he decommitted.
Yeah.
So that ain't great.
Yeah, but one last point. Even if you look at the last couple of years, you look at the Jameer Young, who was one of Maryland's best players the last 2 years, Rodney Rice, homegrown talent from here, Deshaun Harris-Smith, homegrown talent. There's an influx of talent, especially amongst the guards in the area. Like, Maryland should never have a guard problem, to be honest. If I'm being honest, like, we just have so much talent here. So I don't know, man.
Buzz, if you're listening, call Anthony.
Don't call me.
Why not?
Maybe actually, yes, call me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that you'll do it for free, but make you some money. I'm trying to help you out.
I appreciate it, Greg.
A little side hustle, a little side gig. Then you can buy us lunch.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. Can we get lunch? All right, when we get back, it wasn't lunch. It was breakfast this morning for Dan Quinn and a whole bunch of reporters. Logan and I were recording Take Command while that was happening, so we got to react to Dan Quinn confirming Brandon Coleman's going to right tackle, amongst other newsy items, some of the alignment stuff, and then some thoughts on what Adam Peters said yesterday as well. So we'll get you the news of the day, Take Command style, next here on The Hoffman Show. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. As a stand-in for Not My Beat today, if you will, as all of the reporters who covered the NFC Coaches Breakfast this morning seem to all be on the same flight back to D.C. Standig, Nikki, everybody. They're all back on the same flight. And so we are going to, instead of getting one of those who was sitting at that table, we're going to get you Logan and I's reaction to it because, well, our analysis we think is pretty darn good. And so without further ado, Logan Paulson and I this morning from Take Command talking about everything Dan Quinn was saying this morning live as it was happening, plus some of thoughts on one of the big things that Adam Peters said yesterday at his media availability.
The NFC Coaches Breakfast Tuesday. Yeah, you ever go to the owners' meetings? They ever send you those?
I've never been down there, but I was checking out Sam Fortier on Instagram yesterday, and it doesn't look like it's a bad spot to go. I'll tell you that.
No,
I mean,
it is
like right on the water. Looks nice.
Yeah. It's Anthony and I were joking about this on the radio show yesterday. It's like, you know, it's the hotels that you and I don't even know exist kind of place. Like, you know, oh, the Ritz-Carlton, that's not nice enough. Find me the Breakers, Palm Beach, or the Biltmore in Phoenix. And it's like, you just wander around this hotel that you're afraid to, like, you know, pull up a carpet string because it'll cost you $10,000. And there's executives and everybody walking around everywhere. Everyone's way more relaxed. Like yesterday, Adam Peters spoke, and it was the most relaxed, most verbose I feel like I've ever heard him. You legitimately have breakfast with the coaches, which is always great for radio. As the one person who really, really cares about the sound quality in the media, when I was back on the beat, is the only radio beat reporter. It's really great to have some of the most important sound bites of the offseason with clanking forks in the background. But it's a great time. So we're actually recording this Tuesday morning as DQ is wrapping up the coaches' breakfast. Adam Peters spoke yesterday. So we're going to talk a little bit about what they said, and then we're going to get into your mailbag questions per usual for our early week podcast. So I guess the big story, Logan, is confirmation on something from Dan Quinn yesterday or this morning where he says that Brandon Coleman is going to play right tackle. I'm glad I read multiple folks on this because it's not he's going to play right tackle. It's he's going to move to the right side. We're going to start him at tackle, which is a very different thing than like he's our starting right tackle. Clearly, that is the A1 plan, and we're hoping that it works out. But it sounds like tackle first. Let's see if we can make him a really good right tackle. And if it doesn't work, then we'll kick him out into guard. And then you just got to wonder, like, how long is that leash? Is it Brandon Sheriff 2 days of camp long? Or is this hey, we're going to give it a couple weeks? And obviously we'll give it the spring, but in training camp, like, how long does that leash ultimately wind up being?
Yeah, and I think obviously, like we've talked about this a lot with Brandon Coleman and Laramie Tunsil in conjunction with the Laramie Tunsil addition. But I do think, like, when you look at value, and I know people are looking at guard contract value at the moment, and they say, oh, well, guard and tackle are getting closer. Like, you just need to get 4 or 5 good guys and kind of figure it out from there. I still think when you just look at the landscape of the draft this year, the landscape of the draft last year, it's just hard to find tackles. And so if you can get somebody who can play right tackle in Brandon Coleman, again, who has the length, who has the athletic measurements and all the kind of testing numbers that would fit a tackle, I would just definitely give that a really strong look because, again, there's more value in it. It's harder to find guys to fill those roles. And so I think it's the right move. I think it's a smart move. But like you said, and I think it's something that we've kind of alluded to this whole time. Like, if it doesn't work out at tackle, I think he's good enough. I think he is an NFL offensive lineman. So whether that's him playing guard or playing, right tackle, I think that'll kind of shake out in the wash. But I do think ultimately, like, the thing to kind of take away is that you're going to get better at 2 spots with the Laramie Tunsil edition either way. And so, so I think that's, again, it's a little bit confirmation bias, a little bit kind of supporting things we'd kind of hypothesized. It's nice to hear Dan say that and kind of give us a direction for the rest of the offseason. But I think it's a good move.
Yeah, and it's not any different than what we'd expect considering, one things that Adam said yesterday about someone. I think he was talking about the tight end room. He's like, we just want a culture of competition. Like, if Andrew Wiley's smoking Brandon Coleman in training camp, like, they'll find another spot for Coleman, especially right now with Cosme out. Like, there's an extra spot available, which was kind of funny because he was like, DQ was like, it's going to be on the right side. And it's like, well, if he doesn't work out at tackle and then all of a sudden Sam comes back at right guard, you'd imagine that Coleman's going to wind up playing left guard. But we'll see how that machination works out during the season. Maybe this is all for moot, and he really is going to be the right tackle because it works out just fine. It's not like he was terrible last year by any stretch of the imagination. Struggled a little bit late as he got hurt, but we'll see where that goes. The other positional news coming out of the coach's breakfast this morning from DQ is new corner Jonathan Jones going to apparently play a little bit more inside. Mike Sainer still going to stay outside for right now. They're both going to cross-train at both positions, and obviously this could change if all of a sudden the best player available on their board at 29 is a corner, and it's that outside guy, and they get someone who they think can play out there. I don't think they'll hesitate to move Mike Sainer still back inside. But as of right now, the base going into the draft is it sounds like Sainer still is going to cross-train at both. Jonathan Jones going to cross-train at both, but shade more inside. That means Sainer still would be shading outside. What do you make of that? Obviously, opposite of Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, I think that's kind of exactly at least what I thought was going to be happening, right? Like, Mikey did a great job last year. I think Jonathan Jones, is a really good football player that, again, to me, he just feels like the guy that can do anything. You know what I mean? He can kind of play outside if you need him to. He can back up in the slot. And so why not? Why not just have, kind of give Mikey his home? Jones can back up anything. You got Noah Benogany still on the roster, right? Like he can play the nickel if you need to. Like it's good to it gives you more flexibility. Just like the same thing with the offensive line. It just lets you get your best 3-4 guys and dime out on the field, and I think that's awesome, And so obviously Jonathan Jones played predominantly outside last year, but he has played nickel in the past. So I think to me, it's just depends on who you think's the best player outside. And right now, I'd probably assume it's Mike Sainer still based on how he played last year. But again, it's still so early in the offseason, a lot of stuff still needs to happen. And I think this gives you a direction of what they're thinking right now. And it's so funny when you talk to fans or when I talk to players that I consult with, it's this is how they feel today. But when they get to camp, it might look totally different. When they get to OTAs, it might look totally different. And this might go in a completely different direction. And I think you just have to be ready as a fan base for that. But I think this is a good starting spot.
For sure. It was interesting, too, to hear DQ talk about the things that attracted them to Jones. Speed and tackling. He was very clear about those two things. And so, obviously, he's not probably as fast as he used to be. But this is a guy that ran low 4.3s when he came out. Yeah. He just came out a decade ago at this point. But still super fast. And the tackling is what you want in that nickel spot. So it makes a ton of sense for a guy who's going to have run support responsibilities. I thought Renner was so good with us last week when he talked about how, that nickel spot, you're kind of a linebacker in the run and a DB in the pass. And so you need someone who knows how to fit runs, who can make solid tackles in the run game. Not to mention the screen game is such a huge part of what so many teams do now. Can you get out there and be a sure tackler on the edge? So that sounds like what they're going to do with Jonathan Jones and Mike Sainer still. Last but not least, this was news from the Adam Peters side of the house yesterday. And not really news, but I thought just really good perspective. And I was kind of mad at myself, frankly, Logan, for not thinking of this sooner. But Adam was asked about using all these draft picks for trades. And he was, look, you got to take advantage of opportunities. A guy like Tunsil's not available very often. Same thing with Debo. I know him really well. Opportunity presented itself, and for the cost, it was a no-brainer for us. But the concern is that you don't get the cheap talent, if you will, that you get when you use your draft picks on actual young players in the draft, and you get the rookie contracts. Well, Peters reminded everybody that last year, Logan, they drafted 9 guys, and every single one of them made the team. And that's before you add Colson Yankoff and Tyler Owens, 2 undrafted free agents. So we're talking about 11 guys on rookie contracts in one season. And obviously 7 rounds in the draft, you start with 7. You can always get the compensatory picks, whatever. But if you take that and say, hey, we need to average 21 picks over 3 years or 14 picks over 2 years. If you go this year, the 5 picks they have, 11 plus last year's, 11 last year, 5 this year, that's 16. They're ahead of schedule. 5 next year, even if they don't make a move and recoup any more draft capital, they're still sitting at 21 over 3 years. And that's me adding on that, not Adam. But I think that's what he's insinuating is guys, relax, we're fine. What do you make of that reminder, if you will, and does it change at all? I know we've been fairly supportive of these trades. We like them just because that's our analysis, not because we're go team, pom-poms, yay.
Right.
But does that even, I guess, strengthen your support for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, I do think that retaining draft capital, retaining cost-controlled assets is important, right? But I also think finding good football players is equally as important. And I think when you looked at the direction that this roster needed to go, like the Laramie Tunsil trade specifically, like had to happen. Like I don't know how else you would have done it. So for whatever the cost, whatever the kind of cap ramifications, like to me that doesn't even matter because you needed to get a player in at that position, and it wasn't going to happen in the draft most likely, and it wasn't going to happen in free agency. Just to get that cleared up here. I do think that, obviously the 11 rookies last year, the 5 and the 5, I think that kind of is a nice illustration of the direction this could go. But like, as you know, Craig, you've covered the NFL for a long time. Like it's those 11 guys, some of them might not make the team this year, right? Like there might be some turnover there, right? And I do think that Adam is aware of that. So I do think at 29 this year, like Mike Renner talked about, like trading out of that spot, recouping some draft capital this year, making sure you're locked in with your free agency stuff. I mean, the more draft study I do, the more I'm like, man, free agency, if you handle it right, or the UDFAs after the draft, like it can be an absolute gold mine. So I think if you can mine those opportunities well, find good football players, they can do this in different ways. Like when I was in Atlanta, I remember they brought in like 20 or 17 undrafted free agents because they had 4 draft picks one year. And if you do that, if you handle that process appropriately, you can get good football players there too. So I think the point stands, right? I think it becomes a little bit more challenging now because you have less high draft capital to work with. But I also trust that Adam is acutely aware of that. I also know that next year we're going to have some coaches leave, right? We're going to get some compensatory picks. Players are going to leave. We're going to get some compensatory picks. So all of a sudden, this 5-5 is now maybe it's 6 this year with a trade back, and maybe it's 7 next year with some comp picks. So like to me, it'll kind of work out in the wash, but I do think it's good perspective that Adam provided for sure.
For sure. It just shows that you're not nearly as far behind the 8 ball as some people would think because you've got 5 and 5. And the other reason that you want to, maybe trade back and get more sooner rather than later, it's not necessarily about just what you have on draft day. They can't make the Laramie Tunsil trade if they don't have all the picks that they've got. Like you've got to be able to make. And who says, by the way, that they don't trade someone, that they don't trade a Duran? Like what happens if they draft a DT? Walter Nolan falls to them, and he's the guy at 29, and all of a sudden they get to training camp, and someone else needs a defensive tackle, and they're like, "Hey, Duran Payne, you're in the final year of your deal. This team wants to give you an extension. We're going to make a trade." Now all of a sudden they get a 2nd-round pick back for Duran Payne. Like that could happen. John Dotson got them a 3rd last year. So like these things can happen. In training camp, in the middle of the season, in whenever. And again, like I haven't heard anything. That's just me spitballing an idea in terms of that. But the more capital you have sooner, you are then more maneuverable, especially to go up in the draft or to acquire another player via trade. And ultimately, the point is to get as many good football players as possible. Yes, you want to build through the draft because that is probably where you're going to get your best players, and that is the one risk that's still on the table here. But they've maintained their 1st and 2nd-round picks throughout this. I guess did they give up a 2nd in 26 to Houston for Tunsil, but they could still get a 2nd back before then. So we'll see how that goes.
And I think to your point, just kind of like think about like what it means to actually have a GM that's like very competent at the job. Like all of a sudden, everything is on the table. There's none of this like, oh no, we're filed into 5 picks. Like they understand the restrictions that they place on themselves, and they understand also how to kind of get themselves out of those situations too. So I expect again, and they're always thinking about stuff. They're always thinking about trades. They're like just how dynamic the offseason was last year. How aggressive they were in certain spots, how aggressive they were this year. This is a different kind of ball of wax than I think Commanders fans are used to. And it's a dynamic front office. And it's people that are like, it's a playmaking front office is the thing I'm going to say. And I think keeping that in mind as you look at this, like this is not going to be the same thing next year. It's not going to be the same thing in 2 years. Like they're going to work to kind of, put themselves in the best situation to be successful. Like you alluded to there, they're going to trade players. They're going to work comps. They're going to trade back in the draft. Like, even if you trade out of that 2nd-round spot, just as a hypothetical, like you're going to recruit draft capital for that, even if you move a couple spots. So like, I expect them to leave the draft in this upcoming year, 2025, probably with 6 or 7 picks. Like they're going to find a way to get that done. So in terms of me being concerned about cost-controlled assets, all that stuff, is it something to be aware of? Yes. But do I have the utmost confidence that they are also aware of it? Yes. And do they know how to rectify and fix some of these restrictions that they place on themselves? I think that's also emphatically yes. So I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited for draft night is because I can't wait to see them kind of like work some magic and figure some stuff out.
Yeah, although I'm not that excited for draft night because I'm like, oh, they're just going to get to 29 and trade the pick, and it's going to be like midnight, and I'm going to want to go to bed, and I'm old,
true.
and that part of it is it's past my bedtime. Commanders, please keep picking past my bedtime. It is worth it. It is worth it for all the joy that it brings us during the season. And yeah, I just to wrap this up, like that is something I've learned from covering them, and also, frankly, the Wizards. The Wizards are a very dynamic front office that you are like, of course, how you write a particular season, like it's over when it's over. Like no matter what the Wizards do in the future, the 2024 season will have been terrible in the win-loss column. They stink. And they're doing that on purpose for a thing, and that's on a different show because this is the Commander show. But like I've learned to understand how they operate, where it's like we acquire this second-round pick or this late first so that we can trade up later. Like it is a constantly moving equation that you can grade it as you go, but it's a good way to look foolish and wind up on cold takes exposed later because you are often grading something that is only halfway done. And Adam Peters operates in many ways the same way, where you might have it's chess. Like you're thinking multiple moves ahead, and that is how this goes. Same way where you might have it's chess. Like you're thinking ahead, and that is. All
right, not sure what happened at the end there, but that was Take Command. For the full version, check out the Take Command feed where we talked about also a bunch of mailbag questions. Anthony, we got a fun question that we answered today because Logan mentioned this on the last mailbag, that he has taken some rugby stuff. Like he's watched rugby because his son's playing rugby now, and he's used some rugby stuff in his training. He did some as a player where he was like, oh, that's an interesting way to practice that thing or do that thing. Also from like combat sports. And we got a YouTube comment that was like, hey, can Logan talk about that more? Because he mentioned it in the last show. So we talked about that. We also got into some of the wide receiver stuff, draft questions, all the things that you'd usually expect on a Take Command mailbag. So that is online now wherever you get your podcasts. When we get back, the NFL decided not to change one rule that was bantied much about, but make some other significant changes. We will review the day from the NFL owners' meetings and what they decided to do and not next here on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. Anthony, I ate lunch a little early today compared to what I have been eating it lately, which is very close to showtime. And I'm afraid I'm getting hungry. And I'm also afraid that I'm getting hangry.
You know what you got to do, Craig?
What's that?
Got to start packing some sandwiches, man.
You know, I thought, I was like, should I bring a snack? And I was like, no, you had a big lunch, bro. Like, you'll be fine. I'm an adult. I know how to feed myself. Everything's great. Everything's fine. The NFL owners' meetings are happening down in Florida. Actually, they're wrapping up. Everyone on their way home to their respective homes. We're, I think, going to talk to Ben Standig about everything tomorrow during this hour. But as for today, left to our own devices, we would like to talk a little bit more about the rule changes now that we know what is and isn't happening. The isn't, I feel like, Anthony, is the biggest story. Tush Push somehow has survived. Even though there was a ton of momentum building behind banning it, it needs 24 votes to get banned. It was 16-16, and the final vote has been tabled. And a month and a half from now, May 20th and 21st, the next set of owner meetings in Eagan, Minnesota. That is where the final vote, or at least the next vote, will go down in terms of the Tush Push for the 2025 season and beyond. You remember those were the owners' meetings a couple of years ago up there in Minnesota where most of the final work was done to approve Josh Harris as the buyer for the Commanders. So if that sounds familiar, that's why. Of course, the final vote happened in July, and then we had a big party, back at the bullpen. It was a good time. Good time was had by all. Things have been hunky-dory ever since. So the Tush Push, though, I think what's interesting is the arguments being made. And I think that the NFL folks that are in favor of banning it would be better and have better results if they were just honest. Because honestly, I'm slightly pro-ban. I actually don't have super strong feelings about this. Because on one hand, I think this is a play that schematically takes advantage of rules that are not fair to defenses. And that is very different than I have injury concerns or it's a rugby play. It's not a rugby play. And I think Logan did a really good job of explaining that actually on Take Command today as someone who watches a lot of rugby and watches and played a lot of football, that the organization of a rugby scrum is very, very different than a Tush Push. This is a football play, but it's one that takes advantage of the fact that the offense is allowed to push the ball carrier and the defense is not allowed to push their own guys back. So you can it's a physics problem. You just center more mass and create more force in one place in one direction. Plus, you have the advantage of the offense knowing what the snap count is, which is always the case. And it's basically impossible to stop. I say basically, though, because the Eagles are also 11% more effective on it than the rest of the league. And so clearly there's something about what the Eagles do that is just different and better, and they spend practice time on it and the whole deal, and however they execute it, they're just better at it. And maybe it's purely Jalen Hurts that he's the best quarterback to possibly do it because of how damn strong his legs are, combined with how good their offensive line is. Maybe that's it. But I do think even without that factor, I would be pro-banning. You can't push a ball carrier immediately at the line of scrimmage. It's one thing if it's a scrum that's later on in the play down the field, but in the immediacy after the snap, I'm pro you can't push dudes. And I still think the Eagles would be the best quarterback sneak team in the league. I still think a lot of other teams would have a problem stopping it, but I am pro banning it. But the idea that there's some people literally have been well, we have injury concerns, but there's no data to back it up. And I'm not looking for injury data. I'm not looking for someone to get catastrophically hurt and then all of a sudden to be okay, well, that's why we got to ban it. But you would think, one, there would be more injuries on it if there was a risk, and two, at least show me the data that makes you think that it is a risk. You literally don't have anything. So you have people lying like Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur's not lying. Matt LaFleur doesn't know what he's talking about in this particular case, and I really like Matt LaFleur a lot, but he clearly knows nothing about rugby if he thinks this is a rugby play. Two, the injury data doesn't exist. And I think if people just came out and were look, this rule, it was not legal a couple years ago because you used to not be able to push like this. We would like to go back to that because it swings things too far in the offense's way, and we would like the defense, who is screwed by most of the rule changes in the last 20 years in the NFL, to have not this go against them too. Then at least you'd be being honest, and I'd actually support that.
When you bring up the fact that the tush push feels like, this is the offense taking advantage of the rule book, it makes me think of Dwayne Wade, makes me think of James Harden and how they sort of kind of manipulated the
Durant, the sweep through.
Yep. So and what did the NBA do? They, did away with, giving those guys free throws for those, or, calling fouls for those. So I'm not going to say I'm pro or I'm anti, no, I'm pro banning the tush push, but at the same token, I'm not all the way on the other side.
I don't think this is a catastrophe that has to be fixed that's ruining the game.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, if it was that unstoppable based off the rules where it just was ruining the game, then other teams would be as good at it as the Eagles.
Exactly.
And that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
The sweep through rule thing, like, that drives me insane. Like, I'm sitting here in defensive position. You whack the ball into my arms, and that's a foul on me? I was in legal guarding position. Honestly, it shouldn't be a foul. If anything, it's an offensive foul because you're creating the contact, but it doesn't create an advantage for the offensive player. So I can get on my horse about that another day. But, like, the whole point of a foul in any sport is something illegal that creates contact or creates an advantage for one team or the other. If you whack the ball into my arms and lose the basketball, and I was in legal guarding position, that makes you an idiot. Why is that a foul on me? That's a different rant for a different time.
They found the loopholes.
I said it's a rant for a different time, and then I just did the rant.
That's all right.
It's a very concise rant. It's very stupid. These things I think are actually smart. The ones that got passed, I actually quite like a lot of these. One, the dynamic kickoff is here to stay, but they're moving touchbacks to the 35-yard line. So if now you kick the ball through the end zone, you're giving them the ball, the offense, the ball at the 20 or the 35-yard line. So it used to be the 20, then it became the 25. I think last year it was the 30, and now it's the 35. Darren Rizzi, who's now the special teams coach with the Broncos, last seen as the interim head coach of the Saints, he is one of the primary architects of this revamp, according to Kevin Seifert at ESPN.com, and he projects that 70 to 75% of kickoffs will be returned in 2025. And that is in conjunction with the concussion rate on kickoffs last season dropped 43% from 2023. So can they still happen? Unfortunately, we know that is very much the case. Austin Eckler got absolutely rocked on that play against the Cowboys. But it's much more in line with any other play in football and the standard risk than the craziness that was happening on kickoffs, seemingly every other kickoff in previous years. So I like this both in that you are getting the kickoff return in the game. It's an exciting play. There's a chance for big stuff to happen. Special teams matters. And also, it's safer. So this is good for me. Thumbs
That's
up.
a great one.
The owners approved a competition committee proposal to add responsibilities to its replay assist program. The on-site replay official will now be permitted to reverse flags that are thrown for hits to defensive players, along with fouls or face mask, horse collar, tripping, running into the kicker. Those replay officials, however, will not be able to add a flag when an obvious foul has gone uncalled. I get it. I kind of wish they could also do that, where it's like, yeah, that guy got yanked down by his face mask. We should have called a flag there. I don't get, like, why can you pick a flag up but not throw one if it's that obvious? But I, at the very least, like taking the step to say, you know what? That was a dumb face mask call. That guy got brought down by the helmet or got brought down by a shoulder pad, not a face mask. His head just kind of whipped the wrong way or whipped in a weird way that made it look like a face mask from behind when the official was out of position to make the call. Maybe he was in position, but couldn't see the call clearly. Let's not. We saw it on one replay that it was wrong. Let's change it. Like, I am for that in the game as often as possible. That it truly doesn't slow the game down, but we get more stuff right. Applaud on that.
Yeah. But how long will these reviews take? I don't want these guys taking forever. Or like, replay assistance on like every little flag.
But that's the thing. The replay assist doesn't take long at all.
Okay.
These are the ones where they just get in the referee's ear
Oh,
and they're
okay,
like,
got you,
hey,
got
the
you.
replay
Just making
assist
sure.
has said blah, blah, blah. They take 30 seconds, if
I
that.
bet.
Like, make all replays replay assist. We don't need the actual referee to go look at a monitor.
Yeah, messing up the flow of the game. I don't want that.
Yeah. So that's that. All right, there's a couple others as well. Some that got approved, some that did not. Some of these are about on the field stuff. There's one that's actually about free agency that I think is really, really interesting as well. We'll tell you more about what else went down at the NFL owners meetings today next on the Hoffman Show. 6 o'clock, our pal Ben Pickman rejoins us. Ben has joined us a little bit here and there throughout the college basketball season. He covers women's hoops for The Athletic. Paige Beckers went bonkers again last night, but there's also huge off-the-court news that's going to affect the WNBA draft. That is what we're going to talk about with Ben as well, coming up at 6 p.m. Right now, though, back to the NFL and the owners' meetings and the rules changes that happened. So we went through the big ones, Anthony, the ones that I think everyone's kind of heard about, the ones that were, Tush Push ban gets pushed to, May, the replay assist, all that. Here's some of the other stuff that went down on Tuesday. Ready for these, Anthony?
Yes, sir.
All right. Approved a proposal from the Eagles to give each team a guaranteed possession in overtime during the regular season. Previously, a team with the first possession can win in overtime if they scored a touchdown. This rule change aligns with the philosophy with a previous change to postseason overtime, except regular season overtime will remain limited to 10 minutes. I'm fine with this. I didn't think this had to change. I do think that looking out for player safety and not extending games is probably more important over the course of a regular season. But overtime also how many overtime games have the Commanders played in the last couple of years? Not many. I don't think there's a ton of teams that have played a lot of overtime. So if 1 week you have to play a little longer, and now that game is even longer because you have the chance to get the ball after the other team scores a touchdown, but there's only 10 minutes. This is fine to me. I think capping at 10 minutes is probably the most important thing here.
Yeah, and the fact that it is 10 minutes, I think that's beneficial for both teams. But it will be funny though if how the Chiefs got the ball in the Super Bowl and they literally ran the clock all the way down to the last. Granted, they scored on a walk-off touchdown, but if they didn't score, they would have just been able to kick the field goals and the other team wouldn't have been able to get the ball. I think the 10-minute will probably be adjusted sometime in the future.
No, because I think at some point you have to just be if you give up an 8-minute drive and they score a touchdown, and then you've got to go on a 2-minute drive and you have to score a touchdown, your defense should have played better. At some point you have to just look at the defenses. Now, if it's one thing if they, you gave up a whatever instantly, okay, now your offense has a chance to respond. But if you get that cut short, come on. Make a stop. Don't allow an 8-minute 13-play touchdown drive and put your offense in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Next one. The league has endorsed the competition committee's request to add additional specifics on prohibited actions that would violate the league's unsportsmanlike rules, including a throat slash gesture, simulating firing or brandishing a gun, or displaying the nose wipe gesture. I know that this is the no fun league kind of thing, Anthony, but I'm fine with it. Ultimately, the NFL is trying to be family friendly, and I'm conscious of the fact that people bring kids to the games, and I'm not, again, you can't protect kids from everything, and kids are watching the games at home, and so do I think that they should allow a lot more stuff than they do? And do I think that there's some of the celebrations that are considered brandishing a firearm or a weapon are very, very silly? What's the difference in a sword versus hey, we were simulating fencing in the Olympics? Some of this is very, very stupid, but things that are very specifically firearms and very specifically drugs or gang affiliated, but specifically the nose wipe, or some of the other things that are drug related, or a throat slash. What's the kid friendly version of that? When you can explain to me why you'd want your 5-year-old doing that, then it can be in the NFL. Until then, just find another way to celebrate. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, I really do like CeeDee Lamb's celebration. Now, all the other ones, the brandishing, the weapons and the firearms, those got a little out of hand. But I don't know.
I like the Josh Sweat. Instead of doing it here, do it up top, and it's oh, I'm Sweat. Bang. That's cool.
That's smooth.
Yeah, so just, hey, be a little more creative. Again, some
CeeDee
of the
say
stuff,
he got more in the chamber, so
some
I'm
of the
looking
stuff,
forward.
or we shouldn't say in the chamber because that'll get banned too.
God dang.
This one is super interesting, Ant. I didn't know this one was on the table, actually, to be honest. They've approved a proposal from the Pittsburgh Steelers to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 prospective free agents during the negotiation period before the formal opening of free agency. Previously, teams could only speak with the agent of the player during the period. So this is, I guess, technically the legal tampering period.
I was about to say, is this before or after, like, the legal tampering period?
This is during the negotiation period before the formal opening of free agency. So this would be the legal tampering period. So what I think this is probably in part in response to is, remember when the Falcons got whacked for this with Kirk Cousins?
Oh, yeah.
Now, that might have been even before the legal tampering period, so that would still be illegal. But it's the same thing to be like, part of this is like, hey, we're signing you. We've agreed to terms. Everything's just gone through the agent. Now can, like, the coach talk to the player? So, one, it's a recruiting thing. And, like, if the player probably wants to talk to the coaches and the staff, like, I think this is good for players, too. Like, if you're going to agree to terms of a contract, it'd be cool if you could actually talk to the coaching staff. You want to figure out, have a question about your role. You want to do whatever. At least one call. Fine. Like, I think the legal tampering period's stupid and they should just open free agency, but that's just me. But to be able to have that on top of the logistics side of it, like, hey, are you going to, because I don't know, I guess the agent could take care of some of this, but like, hey, we want you to come here and be able to sign the contract on Wednesday. Where are you? We'll send the jet, depending if it's like a big time free agent, or like, how many tickets do you need for your family? Like, some of that stuff, certainly agents handle, but you know, the logistics people with the team to be able to pass the phone around and be like, hey, by the way, what number do you want? Like, you can have some of those personal conversations with the player, and you can get them done ahead of time. So there's a lot of reasons, both in the before a team has agreed to sign a player and after, that I could see why this would be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all stupid. The legal tampering period is so stupid.
I mean, I can see why it's beneficial, but also I just don't think it's really all that necessary.
Hey, I've agreed to terms with your team, but I can't talk to you.
I mean, you got 2 days, 48 hours. Is the conversation that pressing?
No, but like, why can't you have it? I think it's stupid that it's one call. Again, I think the whole legal tampering period is stupid. Like, all of it is nonsense. Just either say you can't agree to anything till free agency opens, or open free agency. I mean, I guess at that point it's the same thing. Are you just sliding it back to when the legal tampering period was supposed to start, or are you sliding the no contact? Why is there this period where you can agree to contracts and agents can negotiate, but the players can't talk to the actual teams and the teams can't talk to the player?
Or do away with it.
That's what I'm saying. Other ones that got done today. Approved a request from multiple teams to allow staff members to prepare K-balls. Football is used only on special teams before game day. That just seems like a thing that was probably really restrictive for equipment staffs. Because now all of a sudden for a 1 o'clock game, they're probably getting to the stadium at 4 a.m. just to prep the K-balls. Like, be nice to the equipment people.
Please do.
Approved proposals by the competition committee allowing 2 players to be designated to return from injured reserve. They are placed on IR when rosters are reduced to 53, granting playoff teams 2 more return from IR spots in the postseason, and designating point differential as the third tiebreaker on waiver claims. The IR rules are changing every year, and I hate it. Can you guys just freaking pick some rules so that I learn and then I can be smart about things for more than 2 weeks at a time when I have to look them up again every year? I beg of you, NFL. Quit changing your roster rules all the time. They also tabled further discussions about the Lions' proposal to reseed the playoffs. They did not approve Detroit's proposal to eliminate an automatic first down penalty as an imposed penalty for defensive holding and illegal contact.
Boo.
Anthony's like, let them hold. No automatic first downs. I do think it's a little bit silly the way it is. Like, I'm down to make it no first down, but a 10-yard penalty. That was my solution.
Yep, it was a great solution.
They don't listen to me, Anthony. They should. And last but not least, they announced the use of Sony's Hawkeye technology to measure first downs in 2025. So, like, the Hawkeye is like what they use in tennis to see if a ball is in or out, and nobody ever argues. I don't know exactly how that is going to be determined because, like, when the knee goes down is obviously a moving target. But they're going to be able to use, I guess is now they can probably stop the tape or, like, stop the play. And there's going to be a chip in the ball or multiple chips in the ball, maybe a chip at each end of the ball. And they'll be able to say, here's where the first down line is. This is when the knee went down. When it went down, line across, that's where the ball was. It crossed or it didn't. which is better than old men running with a chain.
Man, preaching to the choir.
And then video review, and then a different group of old men grabbing the ball, putting it down, and then calling the first group of old men out with the chain.
And still getting it wrong.
The year is 2025. It was time. When we get back, Ben Pickman joins us talking hoops here on the Team 980. It's Hoffman Show. Final 45 before we give way to Caps pregame. We got the Caps here tonight. Nats are over on 106.7 The Fan, so we're done at 6:45. But we're not done before we get to one of the top stories that broke yesterday. It was pretty surprising, at least to me. We'll see if it's surprising to our next guest. Ben Pickman covers college basketball, women's basketball, also the WNBA for The Athletic, and he's back with us on the show. Ben, appreciate your time, as always, especially on a day where I know you were traveling. Had the games last night, so really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So Olivia Miles, who was projected by most mock drafts to be the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft, which is somehow like 10 days from now. But she was projected to be second overall pick, guard out of Notre Dame. She's awesome. She's entering the transfer portal instead. There's a chance she could go back to Notre Dame, but she's likely going to head to another school instead, bypassing the WNBA draft for 2025. How surprising is this? Let's just simply start there.
Yeah, I definitely think it is a surprise. And, she had told ESPN after Notre Dame's Sweet 16 loss that she was leaning towards going to the WNBA, leaning towards the draft. And she admitted that, maybe tomorrow she'll wake up and want to come back. But I don't think a lot of people had this scenario in the cards for her. And part of that was because she had seemingly done what most college kids want to do at the college level, right? She had a ton of individual success. Notre Dame had, gone to multiple Sweet 16s throughout her career, and she was set up to be, a top 2 or top 3 pick in this April's draft. And so, she was highly regarded among GMs. Everything was seemingly set up for her to succeed and take the leap. And so, yes, it was definitely surprising on Monday evening when news came out that she was intending to enter the transfer portal. And I think there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered. And we haven't heard from her firsthand about why she is entering the transfer portal. What about her experience at Notre Dame? Does she want to change at her next school? Why is she not electing to go pro now? There's just a lot kind of hovering over the situation. And I think, frankly, her season has only been over for 3 days. There's still a lot that I'm sure she's still processing, but there's a lot that we're going to have to find out too.
If I were to try to just put myself inside her situation and be like, why would I opt to do this? There is a fairly plausible explanation, which is if she goes into the portal, she's going to be the most heavily recruited player in it by a mile. If you're going to be the number 2 pick in the WNBA draft, then quite obviously, unless the number 1 presumptive pick decided to do the same thing, which Paige Beckers has already said she's not, she's going to go to the WNBA. Obviously, you're going to get more money than any other women's basketball player from the school. And because we are in the last year of this CBA, Ben, in the WNBA, which I'm sure you and I and everyone else who covers the sport will talk about ad nauseum over the next 9 months, or the next 6 months, really, until the season ends, and we'll see how the negotiations go. But because of that, where next year her rookie contract might be worth double, and this year it's not worth very much at all, I wonder how much of this is purely a financial decision where she might feel like she can legitimately make more, and the only thing she'd be losing is getting to her second WNBA contract 1 year faster. Does that sound plausible, valid? You've, I'm sure, interviewed Miles before and know her better than I do. Does that sound like a theoretical explanation here?
I mean, that's definitely a common refrain people throw out, but I do want to kind of push back against this idea that, you stand to always make more in college than by going to the WNBA, because what people forget is that, it's not like these endorsements, these companies aren't going to follow players to the pros, right?
Of course.
She has an endorsement deal with CVS. She has an endorsement deal with Celsius. I'm sure she has dozens of other deals with high-profile companies that, will want to work with her. And if you think about, some of the other big stars in women's college basketball who then went on to the WNBA, it's not like Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, for instance, are seemingly struggling financially, or that sponsors didn't follow them when they made the leap from, one level to the other. And so,
yeah, I totally get that, Ben. I guess what I'm really asking though, then, in terms of the pure numbers, is like, now that schools can pay players directly, is the amount that Olivia Miles can make from a school on top of her endorsements for the final year, hopefully in the WNBA's history with this new CBA coming, is that number specifically for Olivia Miles more than she might make as a WNBA rookie? Because I 100% with you, and
yeah.
that what you said is really important. That for most players, if they've got that kind of notoriety, that's following them to the pros. And that's a silly, tired, old argument, except for in this very bizarre Venn diagram of times where schools can actually pay players and the WNBA is still 1 year away from really launching into their next financial era.
No, it's a good question. And honestly, like at this point, we don't have a clear answer to it. I don't know exactly what she would get kind of in an NIL era from any of these school collectives that are recruiting her. But a kind of simpler explanation might be going back to health and how she feels in her recovery, right? She told me at the Sweet 16, I was down in Birmingham where Notre Dame was playing, that she still feels like she's just getting to around 75% of the player she used to be. And she cited that not from a skill perspective, but from a physical perspective. She tore her ACL and missed all of last season, I guess now 2 years ago, now that Notre Dame's season has ended. And she said she's basically still trying to work her way back physically and strengthen not only the knee of the ACL that she tore, but more importantly, the other leg. And so if we're looking for kind of a potentially other simple explanation, as you mentioned, the WNBA draft is 10 days away. The WNBA season is, I guess it's 6 weeks away, something like that. It feels crazy to say as we're talking on April 1st. Like, maybe it's just she wants to, come back, get stronger, play, prepare herself more for the next level and make the jump when, she stands to benefit financially too from a new CBA, but also when she feels more confident in her ability to play at the next level. I think that's certainly a possibility here too.
Totally. And that is why Ben's podcast is called No Off Season. You can check that out from The Athletic, is because women's college basketball rolls right into the W. And last thing on Miles here specifically, and then I want to talk about the impact it has on the rest of the draft, is do we have, I know this is so early, the answer just might be no, ask the next question. Do we have any early indications on who might be in for her? Clearly all the top programs are going to try, but do we have any idea where Olivia Miles wants to play basketball next season?
I don't currently. I mean, I got to imagine that anywhere she is going to go is going to really make an effort to tailor their offense around her and, make her feel as wanted, as included, and as central to their success as she wants to be. Like, she spent this year kind of playing alongside Hannah Hidalgo. My guess is she will be the pure, undisputed lead guard at whatever the next program is that she goes to. If you want to throw out one kind of potentially interesting name, we've seen a program just this past year have a ton of success with a lead guard kind of really running the show. TCU is one really, really interesting name. Potentially. They're super active in the transfer portal every single year, seemingly. They play a pro-style offense, which would fit Miles well as she prepares for the WNBA in 2026 now. And we saw what they could do with Haley Van Lith just playing spread pick and roll. Imagine Miles kind of playing that kind of style of basketball. You could definitely see a player enjoying fitting into that system. So that's kind of an interesting one to watch potentially, just knowing TCU's history.
That is a great pull. Okay, so the WNBA draft is 10 days from now, or 10-ish days from now. I guess 13. It's Monday the 14th. So there, I'll do the actual math here on April 1st. Typically, my math skills lead themselves to an April Fool's joke, but I think that's actually correct. So 13 days from now, Monday, April 14th, Olivia Miles will not go second overall. What does this do for the rest of the draft down? Because every mock draft I feel like I've looked at, Miles has been the pick there. And I know you recently talked to a bunch of GMs for your GM Confidential piece. By the way, the best type of draft piece that exists. And I'm so happy that you and Sabrina do it for the W. But you talked to a bunch of GMs. Now who's in contention for that second pick? And then what does that leave down board for the Mystics starting at 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to who might go 2 will just be Dominique Malonga. She is the French 6'6" center who's averaging nearly 19 points and 11 rebounds per game in Eurocup play this year, which is super, super impressive considering she's just 18 or 19 years old. She is the kind of prospect, and we have this in our confidential that you mentioned. Like, some people say that she might be the most intriguing prospect in this draft. And from an upside perspective, people could look back and say she should have been the clear number 1 in this draft. Like, she is that good, that highly regarded, and has that kind of upside. So, fit-wise, Seattle has the number 2 pick. They have Ezi Magbagor, who's a really young, athletic, all-star caliber center. So it would be interesting to see how Magbagor and Malonga and Neko Gumake, kind of an MVP, a former MVP veteran, will all fit together. But Malonga just might have the upside to make that pick worth it. As it relates to Washington, I mean, I think there was a scenario in play that I know some people were kind of talking about a little bit, just kind of fans, media members that I had heard some chatter about, in Birmingham that if Malonga goes too, is there a scenario where the Mystics could get both Miles and Sonia Citron and just have a Notre Dame backcourt going forward? And, that could have been really fun for, I think, Mystics fans. I think Citron is one of these players who I would be pretty surprised at this point with Miles going back. If she slid outside the top 4, I think Washington makes a lot of sense for her. She's super versatile, super skilled, really hard worker. Seemingly every executive has glowing things to say about her. It's hard to find a negative thing to say. But then there are bigger questions. Is there another guard who slides in? Anissa Moro's had a really good tournament. Kiki Iriafen had slid down some boards this season, but she is a player who has, I think, improved her stock because, in the wake of Juju Watkins going out, she has shown that she can really be a centerpiece again. So those are some names that I would keep my eye on, but I got to imagine it's a guard-heavy draft, but there will definitely be some shuffling with Miles no longer being in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, the way Iriafen played the last 2 games is, I'm like, whew, yeah. But also, they've already got Aaliyah, they've already got Shakira, so there's always the fit question as well. Last thing, Ben, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, because this is kind of the story that's floating over all of this, even over anything that Olivia Miles adjacent was floating. There's still the idea that a lot of people think Paige Beckers ain't going to Dallas, that she's just going to tell them, please do not draft me, or somehow make it so that I am not going to your team. I do not want to play for you. And Washington is clearly well positioned, if that's the case, to make a trade. They have 3 of the top 6 picks. We know that Paige likes it here. She's hung out here with AZ in the offseason. AZ Fudd, of course, her UConn teammate who is from here. She had passed on the draft this year, by the way, in case anyone missed that story. But what are the chances still that there is, in the next 13 days, a blockbuster deal that sees the number 1 pick move? And if that were to happen, when do we think that bomb drops?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard nothing concrete to suggest that pick is kind of in play to be moved. On the surface from kind of a mock draft, mock trade perspective, certainly 3, 4, and I believe 7 for 1. That's kind of interesting. And maybe you'd have to consider it if you're Dallas, but I've heard nothing concrete to say that's in the works, and I've also heard nothing concrete to say Paige doesn't want to be in Dallas either. You do make a fair case for Washington, and I would just add, if you're making that case, Aaliyah Edwards, obviously one of Paige's best friends from her time at UConn. So if we're looking for another connection, there's another one right there. But I think it's a little it's certainly a fun debate topic, but I don't know if I'm going to envision that one happening in the next 14 days.
Oh, it's a win-win situation for me, Ben, because either Paige is going to wind up potentially here if the trade happens, or Howard Megdal is going to have to come on the show and eat his hat, because he told me if Paige winds up playing for Dallas, he will come back on the show and he will eat the hat that he was wearing. So I got to go figure out which hat Howard was wearing if that's not going to happen, because he's going to have to chew on a hat.
Love that. As long as I don't have to do that.
Yeah, no hat eating for you. Ben Pickman, all he does is write and host a podcast. Both are excellent. You can read his work at The Athletic in the written form, everything from Birmingham over the past couple of days. And then obviously we'll be covering the Final Four from Tampa, and they do a great job on their podcast as well. It's called No Off Season. Search for it in your favorite podcast app. Ben, appreciate your time as always. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Glad to chat.
That has been Pickman with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, we'll react a little bit to that. But first, more on the latest in the world of women's sports. It's presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you want at Wawa with customizable roasted and crispy chicken sandwiches. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Been a heck of a day. Thanks to our friends from The Athletic, Seth Emerson, new friend of the show, who joined us earlier to talk about the Maryland Buzz Williams hire, and then Ben Pickman, who just joined us talking about the impact on the WNBA draft that Olivia Miles saying she's not entering it. She didn't really withdraw. She's just not declaring this year is going to have. Which also, Anthony, it's worth pointing out just real quick as we have a brief minute here. That also obviously affects the 2026 WNBA mock draft. So before the Miles news, let's see. I'm looking at a mock draft that looks at 2026, right? So as of right now, here are some of the top names. Lauren Betts from UCLA, the center. Kiki Rice, DC's very own, the point guard. Flage, who could be in this year's draft, might go back. And then you've got Tanaya Ladson, Reagan Beers from Oklahoma, on down the list. Kayleen Schmeichel from Maryland. So it's not the craziest draft compared to.
Did you say AZ?
Well, I guess that's the thing is right now AZ.
She's in this year.
Is in AZ is going to be in. If AZ has a season next year, like she's going to be in contention for potentially like the top pick in this draft.
Top two, yeah. Her and Lauren Betts.
Yeah, I mean Kiki. We'll see what kind of year she has, but I mean Ashlyn Watkins from South Carolina could be in that draft. I mean, the other one, too, is, like, I feel like a crazy person every time I say this because no one else has this. But, like, can't Juju enter next year?
Don't you have to be 22? And you have to play 3 years? She only played 2.
Oh, she's played 2 already.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. 2026, can't she go in?
She can go in not having played a third season in college?
Well, I mean, she's 3 years removed from high school.
Oh, just 3 years.
So to be eligible for the WNBA draft, domestic players must be at least 22 years of age during the calendar year of the draft and have exhausted their college eligibility or be scheduled to graduate within 3 months of the draft. So if she had I guess that's the problem, is she's not going to be able to graduate early. Because even if she renounces her college eligibility. So Juju right now is also, let's see, she's only 19. She turns 20 in July. So no, she's not going to be eligible next year. Even though she'll be 3 years out of high school, she is young enough that
she is young as hell.
I didn't realize she's still only 19. I thought she was 20. So she will not turn 22 in time. Okay, so Juju's 27. As is Hannah Hidalgo, 2027. But I mean, that's another thing too. Miles is now probably number 1 pick next year. Unless a team likes Lauren Betts more. Or AZ goes crazy. And that's relevant because the Mystics are probably going to be bad again.
I was about to say, like, do the Mystics...
Mystics will have the top... Barring this year going way better than anticipated, the Mystics will have the top odds next year because it's a 2-year rolling lottery system.
Okay.
So they'll have and it's only 4 teams. So it's like a 44% chance, or maybe it'll be 5 teams this year because the Valkyrie are coming in. But it's like a 40-something% chance you get the number 1 pick, which was crazy because this year Dallas pulled a major upset.
Yeah.
And they also have Chicago's pick next year. So depending on where the Sky finish, they could have like a 60% chance if the Sky are bad. Now, I don't know if the Sky are going to be bad with Angel in year 2 and Ariel and whatever, but like, I don't know if they're going to be good either. So
we'll see.
Just food for thought. Food for thought.
I'm excited.
I am too. I'm debating doing a really serious topic before the end of the show. I haven't decided yet. We'll either do something serious or we'll do something really fun and stupid to end the show before we give way to real things and then ultimately Caps hockey coming up at 6:45 next. I've decided I'm not going to do the serious topic because it's like serious. And it's just not the vibes that I want to end the show with, nor do I want to do that to Capitals pregame. So we might table the serious discussion for tomorrow about the serious thing that I was going to talk about. So that leaves us with what else do we want to talk about here, Anthony? What you got going on over there? You're taking care of some business. I was also taking care of business.
Well, I was looking more into what we were discussing. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there because it fills me with absolute rage. You wanna know what? Now I feel like I have to. Do I do it?
I don't think you do a deep dive. I think raise awareness.
That's a good way to put it. So basically, see what had happened was there's this story that caught fire on the internet that was completely false about this young woman at Ole Miss who is an athlete. I think she was a cross-country runner. And there's somehow there's something called Yik Yak is where it started.
Yik Yak was alive when I was there in college.
What? I don't even know. I'd never heard of Yik Yak until this story.
It's just like an app for the campus, to be honest. Like everybody gets access to it, and you can do whatever.
Apparently, you can say whatever you want. And some jackass posted that this girl had cheated on her boyfriend with the boyfriend's dad, and somehow this Yik Yak rumor got all the way to Pat McAfee's show, and he talked about it. And this girl's life is in shambles right now. She's probably on serious mental health watch. She's not sleeping. She is filled with anxiety. She can't step outside her dorm. Her life is ruined because the Pat McAfee show, it was probably already really bad, but now it's being talked about on national news. And the short version of my much more serious, more intense rant is one, it is super weird behavior for McAfee to care, and his show. When I say McAfee, I'm not just talking about him as a host. I'm saying his show, which is a bunch of grown adult men, to talk about this story. Ultimately, this is the private life and I guess probably their interest, the sex life of an 18-year-old college student. What is wrong with you? And two, I think the bigger, if you even want to get past that weirdness somehow, how is the villain in this story this girl as opposed to the dad if it was true and it's not even true in the first place? And so is there, of course, a bigger story about media responsibility? And someone like McAfee is just I'm a clown and I'm entertaining. I'm not actually a real journalist. And it's yeah, man, but your platform is huge and that comes with a responsibility whether you want it to or not. And you can't just put a little disclaimer at the bottom of the screen and say whatever you want. And by the way, she's threatening litigation, which she will absolutely win. Because she's, unlike when you do stuff about a public person, she's a private citizen. She's in no way a public figure. You can't make an argument that an athlete that on a sport that nobody watches, their private life as a college freshman is a public figure. And so if you lie about them in a malicious way, you are in deep trouble as a media company. And the fact that you're not a journalist is not a defense in a court of law. So this could cost ESPN and Pat McAfee personally. We're talking millions of dollars here. So this is real bad. But beyond that, media discussion of what it means to be in the media and the different roles that we all have in it, it's just how they handle this story is gross to me. The fact that they would villainize or demonize or make fun of this girl instead of being horrified when they thought this story was true at the prospect of this grown-ass man doing this to his son. And, yeah, okay, legally speaking, it's not, a crime because she was 18, but if you're going to be an adult here, I don't need to fill in the blanks for you and spell it out. So it's super weird. It's gross. It's infuriating. And I hope that it makes people, and specifically men, go what are we doing? Can we not be better than this? Because I hate to say if it was your daughter, but or your sister or your, make it so it's someone relative to you. This is someone's daughter. This is forget her relation to anybody else. This is a human being. And it's super jacked up. It's super messed up. And again, I'm not trying to like moral high horse this and beat anybody down. I'm just making you stop for a second and go like, wait, what are we doing? And if we can ask that question honestly of ourselves, and I would hope that McAfee takes a second here to ask that of himself, as there was a story in The Athletic this morning that kind of busted this all wide open, that if he takes a look at himself in the mirror, he goes, whoa. Because the thing is about McAfee, unlike some other people that I think are like clown attention seekers, like I think McAfee is like a circus clown. Like he's like, I'm putting on the makeup and the nose and I know who I am. I don't think that Pat McAfee is someone who has bad intentions. I think Pat McAfee at times is way out over his skis and that he should know his own limitations better. And if he did that, he would stop putting his foot in his mouth so often. And if he took these opportunities when he says problematic things, which he has a bunch, to actually learn, then he could actually accomplish the kind of things that he wants to in the world. Because I think Pat McAfee is ultimately someone who wants people to feel good. I think that's the whole point of his show. He's like, we have fun. It's good. It's fun. It's happy. It's light. And there's something to be said for that. But at the same time, there's still a responsibility, and there's certain topics that don't really fit into your show because of that, and it's okay to just leave them alone. But what I would hope is that McAfee looks in the mirror and is like, wow, I really messed this one up. Like, this is bad. And he would come out and be like, guys, I messed this up. Y'all, if you are doing anything to this girl, please leave her alone. This is not true. And by the way, when you're making as much money as Pat McAfee is, I would hope that he also finds a way to send money to her. Now, his lawyers are probably going to have something about that, especially if she's threatening litigation, and that's when it all gets really messy. But like on a human level, if that's really what you're about, like if Pat McAfee, if somehow this clip gets back to you and you care about being a positive person in the world and having a net positive impact on the world, my challenge to you is to make this right, to live up to the things that you believe in or that you claim to believe in, to have the impact that you claim to want to have in the world. That would be my ask request. There, I did it, hopefully without getting on too much of a high horse or being too much of a bummer. That was a hopeful spin without just lashing out on what is, frankly, a gross and disgusting story on a million levels. Also, what is wrong with people that they're putting this on Yik Yak in the first place? What is wrong with us that there's something that called Yik Yak that exists?
That's college, man. Like, I mean, we both went to, Syracuse, and
I went before the internet, Anthony. That's a joke. I didn't go before
I was about
the
to say.
Not that old. But I don't think we had a Yik. Now I want to ask.
We did.
What is Yik Yak supposed to be for? Is it supposed to be for like posting about people?
It's really just gossip and like I don't really know how to explain it because I didn't use it. I didn't, participate in it. I didn't care too much for it, but I don't know.
But it's not
just
like,
messy,
hey, what's the
man.
best pizza shop? It's talking about other people.
Yeah.
Who raised us?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I feel like I'm asking that question a lot recently. Do we have anything in the Real Things folder, Anthony?
No, but we can get out at 45.
Okay. Here's what we got. One thing we can play that's more uplifting, and maybe we need more people like Buzz Williams in the world. Come on, do it. It doesn't want me to play the Real Things thing. Oh, now it's playing, of course.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Set into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
This is Texas A&M basketball player Manny Obaseki after the Aggies lost in the NCAA tournament to Michigan. And this is what he had to say about his coach, Buzz Williams, who's now Maryland's Buzz Williams.
That man right there, next to Wade, one of the greatest people you will ever meet. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time in basketball in general. And he's changed my life. He's changed each and every one of our lives. And I'm so thankful for him. Coach Buzz, you mean everything to me. I love you. No matter what, I know you're going to be one call away, one text away. And no matter what anybody says, he's one of the greatest. And y'all can't change that. And nobody will change that or take that from him. Thank you.
Terps fans, that's what you're getting. You're getting a coach that the players absolutely love. Someone who does things his way, which I think rubs some people the wrong way sometimes, but also can cut through a lot of the BS that happens in college sports. So who knows? I'm sure Buzz will be on the station soon. We'll see if it's with us or Sheehan or Russell, but we'll get that taken care of. Caps hockey is next tonight here on the Team 980.